So I've finished off all the fillet blends on the curves, and I use them to trim out the window glass and the body side. And here I've also built a small draft surface as a ledge to the top of the door side and some space for the window to drop into. And I'll build from this draft edge to create the chamfered feature along the bottom of the window. So I'll start with the skin surface, and if I put the chain select option on, then I can pick all of these edges on the draft and then these ones on the body side. And I get my skin surface, which is dead flat at the moment, so I'll just give it a bit of crown. And so for a concept surface, that's a really good result. But let's look at it in a bit more detail by putting the continuity check on. And this displays all these green lines with the letter P, which stands for positional continuity. And most are green, which means the continuity is okay. But here I've got one shown in yellow, which means there's a small gap. So I'll turn that off for now, and let's just have a look at the structure of the surface. And using chain select with skin has given us all these small surface patches. And I want to find out whether this has given us a smooth continuous surface or not. And I can check that with the surface continuity tool on the Evaluate palette. And this can check for position, tangent or curvature continuity. So I'll do positional first, and if I pick on the edge where two surfaces meet, I get green when it's okay, and I get yellow when there's a gap. So what about in between the surface patches? Well, I'll check those for curvature, which would be smooth. And yellow means that it's failed. And that's what I'd expect because the skin tool only works to positional continuity. So the chain select is great for a quick result. But I'm going to delete that and try a different approach. So if I now take the chain select option off, I can just create the larger straight sections first with skins. And then I can build the blends in a different way. So I've got a four-sided gap in here, and I need to have continuity on all four boundaries. So I've got the choice of two tools, square or birail. And I'll choose birail because the generation curves will hold their shape as they run along the rails. So I'll choose this one as generation 1, and then this as generation 2, and then run those along the two rails. So that's created the surface, and I've got the continuity check on here. So it's telling me that I've got position continuity on each edge. But I'm using this to fix the curvature between the patches, so I can switch the generation curves to curvature. And now I've fixed the curvature problem. But it's created quite a lot of spans, so one of the things I can do is use these rebuild options. And these help when we're building from trimmed edges, like here. So if I rebuild rail 2, then the surface drops from 6 spans to 4. And it's got a much more even layout. So that's quite a good result. And finally, we have an option that we use occasionally that allows us to take complete control over the spans and the degree. And it's called explicit control. So to start with, it looks like everything's failing. But if I turn on the CVs and take off the shading, we can see what it's doing. So with explicit control, you take over the choice of degrees and spans. So I'll have degree 5 for the rail, because I need 1 row for position, 2 for tangent and 3 for curvature on this side, and then 1, 2 and 3 on the other side. And for the generation direction, I'll want to match up the flow of CVs to those on my primary surfaces. So I'll put that down to degree 2. So I've achieved curvature on the ends, and I've got a really nice layout of CVs. But the disadvantage is that I haven't got exact position continuity on the rails. So if I'm doing concept design, I'll turn explicit control off and let Alias work out the structure of the surface and automatically give me the continuity. But if I want complete control, then I can use the explicit option, and I'll take responsibility for sorting out these edges myself. And in fact, I know that I'll be running a fillet along these edges eventually. So I'm happy to leave that gap there for now. And I'll show you the fillet tool in the next tutorial. So you should be able to use these techniques to finish off the whole of the chamfered edge in the same way. So the BiRail tool is particularly useful because it allows us to set up continuity on up to 4 edges. The rebuild options can improve the CV layout, particularly when you're working from trimmed edges. And the explicit control option lets you choose the CV layout directly. And then the surface continuity tool will check boundaries. But it's only one of many tools that we use to evaluate continuity. And you can find out more about these in the theory builders on the training site.